I don't know, maybe in another 10 years we can talk about it and I really understand what I was doing. I'm just living in it. I'm literally, kind of being
Alchemizing.
as open as I possibly can to new ideas and how things are done versus how things were done. And I'm trying not to be a person who's so conditioned to my past that I'm not considerate of how things have to be done and are inevitably being done. Mystique is something that is good and bad. Like, because what I do struggle with now is the fact that I don't feel comfortable doing these kinds of interviews and talking because I don't really know the nature of where it's going to go. But I fuck with you. So I was like, I'm going to come sit down with you and we're going to have a real conversation. And I'm also, too, going to hopefully, be comfortable enough to be able to be vulnerable and talk about life. And, there's what you see and then there's who I am. And there's, some judgment that comes with that on the other side. But I don't really get concerned about that. I really am. I'm
Uh-huh.
living my life and I'm trying to be a great artist.
The music industry has always been filled with untold stories, hidden truths, and scandals. But Usher's explosive revelation about Diddy and Justin Bieber has taken things to an entirely new level. It all started when Usher, a seasoned artist who's seen it all, decided to share some jaw dropping secrets that had been kept behind closed doors for years. The world watched as Usher, in a rare and candid moment, opened up about what he knew and what he was willing to expose. It wasn't just another celebrity drama or petty beef. What Usher revealed shook the foundations of the industry. Diddy, the mogul who built his empire off of hip hop and business deals, was hiding a deep, dark secret involving none other than Justin Bieber, the pop superstar who has been in the spotlight since his teenage years. But the real kicker? Bieber's mom, Pattie Mallette, was allegedly aware of it all and had been quietly involved. The world had no idea what was about to be exposed, but Usher was ready to drop the bomb. The conversation began innocuously enough when Usher appeared on a popular podcast to discuss his career, his music, and his life.
But greater than that, a good person and a human, right? I'm gonna go through flaws, go through ups and downs, and my entire career has, kind of shown you that. Whether I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about it in music or just living through things, I've had some really, really tough times, and I've not had anybody to talk to about it. I've not had the opportunity to be able to kind of open up. That's why I really was so excited about this Audibles, because it gave me the opportunity to be able to kind of peel the veil back and allow you to look at where I was.
But as the discussion deepened, Usher's tone shifted. He didn't hold back, revealing shocking details about the relationship between Diddy and Bieber. It wasn't just about business as usual, it was about something far more sinister that had been happening behind the scenes. Usher, who had been around both Diddy and Bieber for years, shared how Diddy's influence over Justin Bieber went much deeper than anyone had ever imagined. According to Usher, Diddy had been manipulating Justin Bieber's career for his own benefit. The mogul, known for his control over the music industry, had used his influence to guide Bieber's every move, from his collaborations to his public image. But it wasn't just business. Diddy had taken it to a personal level, trying to mold Bieber into a version of himself. Usher explained how Bieber, at such a young age, was vulnerable to Diddy's manipulations. He shared that Diddy had a knack for getting into the heads of rising stars, using charm, power, and subtle coercion to shape their careers.
He'd reportedly considered dropping Usher from his label, but when Usher begged him to stay on, Reed sent him to live with Sean Combs in New York for a year to train. And at the time, Combs, who was then known as Puff Daddy, we believe was in his 20s, there were these apparent training sessions, and these training sessions were known as Puffy Flavor Camp. Now, through the years, Usher has spoken about this time in his life with Combs. For example, in 2004, Usher told Rolling Stone that Combs introduced him to essentially sex. He said, quote, "Sex is so hot in the industry, man. There was always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it or several people in a room having an orgy. You never knew what was going to happen." On the Howard Stern show in 2016, Usher talked about his time with Combs too, saying there was definitely a lot of wild partying, but he doesn't think he was really able to understand what all was going on. And when Howard Stern asked him, would you send your own kids to something like Puffy Flavor Camp, this is what he had to say.
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to puppy camp?
Hell no.
See?
Usher also spoke with People magazine back in February, saying some of the most valuable lessons I could ever learn as an entrepreneur were picked up when I spent that time in New York with him. This unwavering desire to create and make certain that your creative ideas are executed.
But it didn't stop there. Usher's revelation about Pattie Mallette, Bieber's mom, was even more shocking. According to Usher, Pattie knew about Diddy's influence over her son, and not only that, but she had allegedly approved of it. Usher made it clear that Pattie was complicit in allowing Diddy to have such control over Justin's life and career. She knew exactly what was going on, Usher said, his voice heavy with the weight of the truth. But she played along with it. She didn't want to upset the apple cart. Diddy had a hold on Justin, and she let it happen. As Usher's words sank in, it became clear that the relationship between Diddy and Bieber wasn't as innocent as it seemed. For years, the world had seen Diddy and Bieber as just another successful mentor-protege duo. But the truth, as Usher revealed, was far darker. Diddy's grip on Bieber went beyond professional influence. It was about power, control, and manipulation. And the fact that Pattie Mallette had turned a blind eye to it all made the story even more unsettling. Was Bieber really making his own decisions, or was he being led by forces far greater than him?
When you're in this industry and you can't believe most of what
Right,
you
a lot of
read.
it's made up, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's tough, but you know, he's held his head high and handled some situations really well.
Usher continued to spill details, describing how Diddy's hold over Bieber wasn't just about music. It extended to Bieber's personal life, with Diddy allegedly pushing him into partnerships, deals, and relationships that didn't always align with his values. Bieber, who had always been seen as a good-natured kid, was being pulled in directions that weren't his own. Yet he didn't have the courage or resources to break free. And when it came to his mom, Pattie, Usher revealed that she had been far too passive about this.
Heard it last night, and it was something about they say he was standing at a table. They say the shirt that he wore to the BMA say something about God is great. But in the video, they got pictures of him standing in the background while a woman is being sexually pleased, but she under the influence. And they say it's white substance on her nose. You can clearly see that. And they saying in another video, they have him and an A-list, a young male, having sex. And it was an alleged allegations that it was being a tape was being shopped around with him and a young male. I'm not accusing nobody, but if you look at the way Justin Bieber look at Puffy, he hates that nigga. He hates that nigga. That man's face ain't just dropped soon as he wanted to go get a wife. That man's whole fucking face, that's some medical. That man young and healthy, man. But he know, he terrified. You remember when I said a lot of people happy you locked up right now, Puff? He's one of them. That's why I'm speaking. He's one of them. One of the people that you terrified who couldn't get from under your claws. That's why Puffy trying to help me get back out here. He know. These bitches want to see me fall. They want to see this. They've been waiting on this. He know how many people been waiting on this. His kids know. They feeling it. Nobody calling. Nobody trying to, you know what I'm saying? And all the people that was trying to be my friends. So infatuated with a child that wasn't yours. Were you grooming that little boy? I don't even want to start those conversations because that's not your child. You know what I'm saying? And for you to keep him that close, it's like you kept him that close because he might got your secrets because he's not your child. So if he's not your child and you that type of person with that type of character, you don't mind actually doing it to him when he finally reaches a certain age because he's not yours. And you know in your mind he's not yours. And now you keep him real close to you. You make sure he don't go to his daddy. Why? You make sure he's separated with him and you provide him with everything he wants. Why? You got one of them little Michael Jackson secrets. He got one of them secrets that he can't tell nobody because his legacy, I mean, his manhood gonna be, and not only that, his brother no gonna look at him crazy. Only Puffy know, only God and
talking about
Puffy.
Quincy, right?
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is, I don't know.
I'll be sure, son.
All I'm gonna say is, who's infatuated with another man's son like that? Like you guess that seemed like grooming to me. I got, oh, that's his daughter's brothers. Get the fuck out of here. Huh? Plenty daughters got brothers. We go show one man that do it.
Situation, allowing Diddy to control her son's future for the sake of keeping the peace. The impact of Usher's words was immediate. Social media exploded as fans, critics, and other celebrities weighed in on the shocking allegations. The media coverage was relentless, with outlets questioning how much Diddy really knew about his influence on Bieber's life, and whether Pattie Mallette's role was as passive as Usher had described. Was Diddy simply a powerful figure who helped Bieber succeed, or was he pulling strings in a much darker game? Fans began to reevaluate everything they knew about Bieber's rise to fame, questioning how much control he had over his own career and whether he had been manipulated by the very people he trusted. But Usher wasn't finished. He didn't stop at exposing the dynamic between Diddy, Bieber, and Pattie. He also revealed something even more startling, a warning to Ray J, the R&B singer and entrepreneur who had recently found himself tangled in Diddy's drama. Usher revealed that Ray J had been warned by several people about getting too close to Diddy, as the mogul was known to use his connections to manipulate those around him. Ray J, you don't want to go down this path. Usher warned, Diddy is not a friend to anyone. He's only in it for himself. The entire music industry was now on high alert.
Being a teen parent was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. And I remember recently going back to visit the pregnancy home that I lived at the whole time that I was pregnant with my son, and seeing the girls, and they just had so many questions. And one of the questions was, how am I going to do this? What do I have to offer? You know, they didn't have anything. And I remember saying, you have love. You look at all these different countries all over the world where they have nothing, and they are some of the happiest people in the world. You know, you have some families that have everything, and they have some of the most miserable kids in the world because they don't value love as the most important thing. And so I think that's really important, is to really encourage teens to really love their kids and know that that's enough. I also want to encourage teen moms to really utilize the resources available to them. There's so many amazing programs. There's even groups that you can get, support groups that you can join, and things that you can do to really be the best mom you can be.
Usher's words, filled with truth and urgency, painted a chilling picture of how powerful figures in the industry were manipulating the lives of younger artists for their own gain. It wasn't just about music. It was about control, influence, and hidden agendas. The darker side of the industry had been exposed, and there was no going back. As the story continued to unfold, more and more voices joined the conversation. Other artists began to come forward, sharing their own experiences with Diddy's control and manipulation. The once glamorous world of fame and fortune was now being revealed as a game of power and secrecy. In the end, Usher's shocking revelations about Diddy, Justin Bieber, and Pattie Mallette were just the beginning of a much larger conversation about the manipulation of artists in the entertainment industry. The world was now questioning how much control these moguls really had over their stars, and what the cost of that control was. Was it worth sacrificing freedom, creativity, and personal choice for success?
I heard about some music executives from the industry back in Harlem. You know, I heard it from some music executives back in Harlem. And I'm not going to speak on their name. They doing programs and everything like that, and they may be doing something, they may speak on it themselves. But I heard it from some music executives.
Where did you hear it?
Bro, you know how people be talking, and we was around some people, something like that, and then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when somebody say, yo, man, I don't F with them niggas, man, I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, nigga was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you heard it, and that's what happened.